I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought at night just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Hello, and welcome to Season 32, Episode 5 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. My name is Kimmy,
I'm Clara.
and we have with us today an amazing guest who is...
Hi, I'm Jess.
and Jess is our incredible indie designer of this month. It's amazing. 2 months in a row, we've actually had our indie designers on the show with us. I feel like I'm starting to get this whole thing worked out and together. It's very exciting. I feel very organized, and we're very excited you're here. And I'm gonna fangirl all about you in just a minute. So, in today's episode, Davi loves games in a box for conventions, but wants some system suggestions. Actual Jessie asks about crafting in TTRPGs. Steffi from Scotland has some amusing suggestions for classifying games. And if you'd like to contribute a question or topic to the show, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Announcements. Until the end of June, you can still fill out our survey about what you love and hate about us. If it's all hate, that's fine. That's still very helpful. If it's all love, that's great. That helps make up for the hate from other people. So if you go to happyjacks.org/survey until the end of June, you can share all your feelings, good or bad, and it's anonymous, so you can be really, really honest about it. So please do that. It helps us make better products. It applies to this show. It applies to our actual plays. It applies to just how you feel about us in general in life. If you've stopped listening to the show, you're not hearing this anyway, but you should still fill it out. And if you are still listening to the show, please fill it out. If you haven't yet, do it. Okay, now the exciting part. Our indie designer of the month for June is the amazing Jessica Markram, who's at Miss_Jess03 on Twitter and Angry Nerd Girl on Twitch. And you can find all her stuff at angrynerdgirl.itch.io, or all her independent stuff. But she's done so much stuff, so many things. So Jess, why don't you just say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I'm Jess. My pronouns are she, her, and I write games. And I spent 9 hours in the car today. So, hello.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
Yes. See, we're from LA, so it's like when you spend 9 hours in a car, you get 4 miles here. So it's a very different experience.
I went through several states.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's not lucky.
that's very productive of you in 4 hours. 8 hours, whatever it is. Well, we're very glad you're here. And so a couple of the things, I feel like you and I have been mutuals forever, so I don't actually have any memory of how I became aware of your work. I think I've just been obsessed, and we chat on
Honestly,
Twitter.
I think it was over Wonder Woman or something.
Yeah, that is 100% a thing. That's very possible.
This is the least surprising thing I've ever fucking heard.
I make a lot of my
We
friends.
both just really liked Wonder Woman.
We
we're like, oh, we both games.
Lots of games, yeah. And then we're both designers, so it's just been this parallel internet path for so long. So it's great to actually chat with you in person. And also you've done some
Yes,
really...
I am here in the room.
In the room.
Look,
the
right
magic
here.
room. We see you. You're there.
I'm here.
So we talked about your game, Oops, All Draculas, last week on the show, which is very fun and amazing. This week, I think we're going to have to talk about a specific one we were mentioning a moment ago, but we'll go back to it in a second. I do want to talk about some of your other work that isn't just indie design. They're indie-ish projects, but you've been a contributor to the Uncaged collection, which is now a collection, which makes me so happy. A couple different times. Can you talk to us a little bit about that project and why you thought it was important to kind of contribute and be part of that?
That was actually my introduction to tabletop design. one of my friends who'd been playing in a campaign of mine for a while told me about Ashley's call for writers, and was like, you love fantasy and mythology and you care a lot about feminist stuff, you should pitch for this. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know how to write a campaign. And she was like, well, you GM, so just write down that it's the same. And it's not the same, but it's the same enough. So I pitched and was lucky enough that Ashley took me. So I got in volumes 1 and 4. And then when Gwen and David decided to make Uncaged Goddesses and like end the series officially, they asked me to come on as writing director and like help mentor writers for that project. So that was really fun.
Yeah. So, and
cool.
it was such an epic ending. So for those who may not know, the Uncaged series and anthology, the Uncaged anthology, is content for 5th edition that is kind of a feminist spin on things. So Uncaged Goddesses, which is the like final thing. And I know I'm not usually the biggest 5e fan, but I'm a big fan of these, and I actually own a few of them, even though I don't know if I actually own the player handbook for 5e. I don't know.
I bought
But-
my first adventure to pitch for Uncaged, like my first D&D adventure,
To see,
because
yeah.
I was like, how are these written?
Mm-hmm. But they're like a feminist spin on traditional things. So Uncaged Goddesses, which is the most recent one, it's like you pick a goddess. It was from D&D. It was all D&D goddesses that you kind
Yes.
of turned on their heads. So
Most of the
Yeah.
evil goddesses, if you look them up, they have the blank bitch as one of their names. So like Umberly is the sea bitch.
yeah.
There's the night bitch. And yeah, we wanted them to tell their stories.
Yeah. And it was
And most
amazing.
of them are goddesses of trickery as well, because they're sexy, and sexy women are always trying to trick you.
Right.
but
Yeah.
with their seductivity.
So
Standing
yeah.
there in sweatpants, like,
Yeah. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I think that's one of the reasons that it's such an important project. And I wish that, and I know there are other projects in that vein, but it really got a lot of kind of traction and attention, which I thought was amazing. Because that's one of the things that's hard for me about 5e generally. Like, one, it's like there's that stuff in it. There's that stuff baked in it. And while people are trying really hard to kind of, some people are trying really hard to kind of pull those elements out of it or create things that don't use those elements, it's still sometimes kind of hard to just ignore it or get over it, or like you hit something in the player's handbook that you're like, oh, okay.
The story of the harpy is so upsetting in the
Right?
player's
Yeah.
handbook.
Oh, why do you tell it? Like,
It's Harpy fell in love with, I think it was Fenrir Mesterine, and loved him and just followed him around because he was so pretty. She wasn't a harpy then, she was an elf.
Mhm.
And so one of the goddesses, now I'm showing my bad goddess lore, it's been over a year
yeah,
since
it's been
I edited
hot
21
minute.
goddess adventures,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you're fine.
was like, well, hey, I'll give you a beautiful voice so you can win him. And she sang and he ignored her, so then she was like, I spit on the gods and their gifts, and was turned into a harpy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because she ostensibly because she spurned the gift of a god, but really because she couldn't get a man's attention.
Yeah. What else is left in life if you can't get one dude's attention? Like,
That's
why
true.
not just throw it all away? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Rel-
don't make
relegated
them-
to
And the
spinsterhood.
D&D Medusa, their take on the Medusa is like people who were so vain in life
yeah. Yeah.
that they are now cursed to live forever in service of their own vanity.
I will say, this is the one thing it has going for it. It is better than being cursed for doing literally nothing.
True.
Yeah.
At least
For
you
something that
sucked
happened to
first.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a slight climb up, but like,
Yeah, the bar is on the floor.
yeah. Yeah.
And banshees are another one where it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
these were beautiful elves who are now cursed because they're so pretty. They just didn't pay attention to anything else.
Yeah. It's, oh. And
So a lot of
yeah.
the Uncaged adventures that used banshees specifically went back to the original Irish folklore of them being like heralds of the dead and stuff, which those were fun.
I really
Yeah.
like that. There's a history in like the D&D monster manual has and just the D&D lore in general has a habit of when it was written taking lore and stuff from cultures that didn't necessarily want their lore taken and then made it worse.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, like a half-baked understanding, like, oh, like what you'd get in like a Google search, but they didn't have Google then, but like a very brief,
Yeah.
like kind of over, like probably written by somebody who wasn't even of that culture. And then, oh, I'll take this and then I'll twist it and make it, it's just like, yeah.
yeah, like the word phylactery, like phylacteries are Jewish like items that are part of like just our weekly prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And but like they've used it's used for liches in the D&D world, and it's one of my favorite things because the overlap is just amuses me now, but there are a lot of people in the Jewish community who are like, man, I wish they didn't do that.
Well, I mean, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the whole Uncaged thing has been, it's been great to see something. It's hard sometimes to get things like that really getting attention in the D&D world. So it was really awesome to see that series and that anthology. Sorry, it's an anthology. Uncaged anthology.
We were
is such
so
a thing.
surprised.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised. Like, no, I mean, I loved it from the start, but I was surprised as someone who is kind of familiar with tabletop to watch it then like kind of launch
Blow
as it
up.
did. Yeah, that was amazing.
And then everybody started doing anthologies, which was also kind of great because that got a lot of people like new writers coming in and new editors coming in, which was really cool.
Yeah. And I think that there's been a little bit of a breath of fresh air from projects like that. When you guys really showed that you can like switch it up and really use a very specific voice to tell things. And I think that kind of gave a lot of different groups hope that they could also do something similar, which is important.
It's also the response has been nice seeing how it's changed over the years, because obviously the first book there was great positive response, but there was also a lot of negative feedback of people who are angry that I think it's Cat Evans' adventure has when you're creating NPCs on the fly, he put in a roll table for gender and was like, just roll for their pronouns kind of thing. And people were like, why are you forcing me to play like as a non-binary person? Are they really likely to come up on a 9 or a 10 on a D10 kind of thing? Like nonsense like that.
Oh boy.
Forcing a woke feminist agenda. People weren't saying woke as an insult that back then. It was more like feminazis.
Yeah.
And that they were forcing lesbians into their D&D kind of thing. All of the good people are lesbians, all the bad people are men. And we're like, okay, man. But with goddesses, it's been universally positive feedback, or at least like on the on the reviews on the page itself. So people aren't buying the adventures to be mean to them the way they were like 5 years ago.
I mean, if they're buying them,
right? We were like, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry into your $20. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I wonder if that was a kind of because they had already kind of been used to it. Like this happened once, they got really angry about the first one, and then it had continued, and then it's like by then
3 more.
Yeah, and then by then it's like, oh well, my yelling into the void of the internet doesn't seem to be stopping this. Or if it was a difference because it was like goddesses, I don't know, that's interesting.
I think a lot of people have felt more, especially in the last couple of years, have really felt more empowered to like tell their own stories in the mediums they love, like D&D. Tabletops overall, but D&D specifically has seen a resurgence of a lot of like POC and queer folk who are just trying to like make their story known. I will say, as a queer person, but like who plays D&D, it didn't occur to me that that was like a thing that people weren't doing. Like,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess warlocks can be straight. That's an option, I guess. That's crazy.
But why?
But why?
What?
Seems incorrect.
Yeah, it's yes, it's there's still a long way to go, but it's definitely better.
Oh, for sure. And it's but like I feel like projects like the Uncaged series and all of the like and also just like more visibility, because more visibility has meant just more people are playing, have definitely empowered people to want to tell their own stories, which has been nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. So Uncaged obviously is like the thing that I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's like the biggest name thing you've done. So, and it's also super feminist, which is why I want to talk about it. Because, you know, I'm the
It's
queen.
probably the
Crazy.
biggest name thing that I've been involved in, like the production side for. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the Age of Warhammer, Age of or Soulbound, Age of Sigmar starter set.
Oh, yeah.
That's one that is in game stores, because like, I mean, I have other stuff in game stores. I was just on a trip and it went to a bunch of game stores where I was like, "Where's your RPG section?" And they were like, "Oh, the D&D's over there."
Yeah.
Oh.
And they were like all board games and Magic, and then they would have like 5 D&D books. But there was one, and they had like D&D and Warhammer games, and then Avatar.
Yeah.
And I tweeted about that. I was like, "Huh, okay." And I just feel very happy because my friendly local game store has like a massive independent RPG section. That's
amazing.
great. But yeah, so even at like we only have a D&D section, I have one game in that store.
Woo! I mean, you know, one's more than 99% of the population.
Listen, that basically makes you D&D famous. That's how that works.
Yes.
There are like five writers for things. People don't know. This is bad. I mean, again, I'm only.
Well, I
on
was laughing
itch.
about all these huge combat games, and then like Avatar PBTA game being there, and I was like singing one of these things is not like the others, and my partner was like, "Yeah, because you wrote one of them," and I was like, "No, but that's very sweet."
Yeah.
I meant Avatar.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Avatar is just such a big property.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think
Yeah.
there's any way you could have a property with that much like nostalgia and following and like loyalty without having it be like, no matter what system they'd picked.
You've broken my tiny mind by saying Avatar is nostalgic.
Yes, it is.
That's upsetting.
is.
That's upsetting. It's
You-
fine.
Oh, young one.
No.
Welcome.
It's fine.
Welcome to the first of many, many times that this will happen to you. And then when people start advertising to you for it, then you'll just like, son of. And then they play the music where you're like, oh, this is my. Oh, this is the oldies channel.
When you hear your bops played in the grocery store.
Yeah. So bad.
It's
Someday, dear.
fine.
Someday.
It's fine. No, I'm waiting for the day that like game systems come out and people are like, it's crazy. I would love to see like a combat oriented game. And you're just like, back in my day, we had to force role play.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, your lips to the goddess's ears, my dear. But no, I mean, lots of people still enjoy fighting games. And I also have a hankering once in a while for a big crunchy combat-y system. Like we all have our moods that way.
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
I love crunchy combat. I just like don't like crunchy combat if no one else is on like ready for it, because I just want to stare at a grid for like 6 hours.
And I don't like that and it's such a majority of the market is the thing. It's like that anything that's not that way is considered less than because
Yeah.
it's such a big chunk of the market. That's the thing that bothers me about it.
That makes sense. But yeah, otherwise, like, I'm an itch bitch. So, like, all of my games are digital, and I don't understand what this going to a game store is like.
Yeah. See, now we have to make an anthology about Clara so that Clara is no longer referred to as a something bitch.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
No, I'm proudly going to be an itch bitch
okay.
because, again, we've talked
Okay.
about this. You have a margarita, you go on itch.io, and then you just download whatever's interesting. And then the next morning, you've bought yourself a bunch of presents.
Yes. If it's a self-given
I love
bitch,
that.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, like, drunkenly, like, hey, Clara, hey, look what I found. Look what I found. It's really confusing when, like, I'll get up really early in the morning and it'll be sitting there waiting for me when I'm like up with my toddler and like very sober the next morning. And I'm like, what is this? What? Okay, girl.
It's just full chat logs that just link.
What? Okay, fine.
Why did they make a game about that?
Why not?
Yeah.
Okay,
Make a
so
game about anything.
you can. So speaking back to writing games. So you
Mhm.
said that the Uncaged series was kind of your introduction to designing and writing stuff for games.
Yeah.
But you have an amazing resume, and you also have a very, very amazing, very entertaining, attention-grabbing itch page, which is one of my
Oh,
favorite.
thank you.
The titles are just like, oh, I want to click on that. I want to see what that is. So how did that
I
kind
see
of...
people do such cool stuff with their itch pages, and
Yeah.
mine is like so basic. I'm just like, here's the games that I made.
Yeah, but it's got I think that's the title of the games are the things that really grab me. But we're jumping ahead because I wanted to ask you kind of like, how did that transition go from working on something that was like for 5e, very like the
Mhm.
500-pound gorilla in the room, to
Yeah.
I'm going to make tiny little games about having too many Draculas in one house. Like, how did that go?
I it was a couple of things. First, it was because Uncaged blew up and people started reaching out to hire like Uncaged designers for things. But that was usually for like 5e or 5e adjacent
Mhm.
things. But Allison Huang, who's Brazilian on Twitter, is one of the Uncaged designers. I'm lucky enough to get to play with her almost every week on Three Flings, which is also at this time usually on this day. But she is known as the Game Jam Queen of Australia. And she introduced me to game jams, where you basically are given a theme. And I'm actually running a game jam right now. So get a game in the next like 24 hours. But you're
Not
given
gonna
a theme and make a TTRPG within a certain time limit with certain parameters.
Mhm.
And at first it was really daunting because I was like, I just make whatever I want. But the theme is really helpful. And then taking like the Uncaged template and kind of smashing it together with templates from other game systems that I know and love. Like the first one I did was Squad Goals, which was a PBTA game. And that I just kind of looked at the way PBTA games I knew and liked were laid out
Mhm.
and tried to mimic that in Google Docs and
Yes.
Word, because David Markuski does a lot of my layout, and you can always tell when David has done layout for me or when I have done it for myself, because David does beautiful layout and I use Google Docs.
That was for the Folklore Jam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't realize that was like kind of your first indie on your own, because that was the first time I tried designing anything too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so that's very funny. I think
Oh, because you did Vixens and
Virgins and Vixens, yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah, so and I love that we both like I like keyed in on your game right away. I think partially because I like kind of was aware of you because we were mutuals, but like I was also like, oh, feminist game. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Look, we're like buddies. So that's very funny. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Just like something about that theme, like kind of like inspired both of us in a similar
Yeah.
direction. That's interesting.
I'm on your itch now.
Okay.
There are tiny animals on one of these, which I automatically have to acquire.
Is it Tiny Terrors?
Cottage critters.
Yeah. She Claire,
Oh, yeah.
Claire has an obsession with games where you can play tiny animals.
I just want to be a tiny woodland creature. It's bad.
Yeah. So yeah, I really liked your Squad Goals game. That was one of
Mhm.
one of my favorites from Folklore Jam, which now feels like it was 800 years ago, even though it was only like
It was
5 years ago. I don't know. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about your game that like immediately Clara like looked at your page and was like, we have to talk about that one, which is Just Gals Being Comrades.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna like read this little pitch, and I know I asked you a bunch of questions on our Patreon interview about this one because I liked this one too. It caught my attention. So the time has come for revolution. There are only days before you and your comrades rise from the alleys and seize the means of production at last. Who knows what will happen after that? If you'll even survive only a few more days with her. So it's a GM-less game for one or more players.
So cheesy.
I love it. It's so good. Come on.
It's so funny because, like, in 2023, this is like, yeah, good for her. Yeah, pride. This is also an 80s, like, lesbian horror film.
It could,
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Like
lesbian.
Red Dawn.
Yeah, lesbian communists, like, fully a 1960s through 80s, like, horror novel or whatever.
Oh, wow. I want to do one where it's like Hunt for Red October, but it's a submarine full of lesbians. And they've like stolen a sub and they are like off trying to like get to like wherever they need to go. That'd be amazing. Sorry.
I'm trying to come up with a punny name and I'm really failing, but there's one there.
There's something there. We'll
Yeah.
get to it.
Go down below.
Yeah.
That might be a little too much.
Oh, no.
The deep dive.
No, just think of Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
Which is another movie.
There you go.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of things, but yes.
My high school girls swim team had T-shirts that said "Girls swimming, always wet and ready."
Oh my God. Are you a swimmer?
I'm not,
Oh, okay.
but I was a dancer and we were in the same basement as the swimmers.
Oof.
Claire and I are both like ex water polo swimmer people. So, but
Oh, nice.
I appreciate that shirt a lot. Like
Oh, man.
a lot.
Yeah, I got a cricket. I know what I'm doing later.
Okay, sorry. So back to this game that we are now like spiraling out of control. You're too much fun to talk to. So it uses a tower kind of like a Starcrossed, right? Where you have a Jenga tower and you pull out a block and that like builds the tension until like the thing happens. It's one of my favorite mechanics and it's so good for like
I
romance.
love block towers.
So good, right? And it's also
But
just like very
instead of, like,
satisfying.
confessing your love when the block tower falls, like
Yeah.
the block tower falls and it's the revolution in this one, and like, will you have confessed your love before that happens?
Yeah. I love that's that uncertainty. So like maybe your like love story resolves with the revolution starting and you never say
You never
it.
tell.
Oh, I get
It's
goosebumps.
just pining the whole time.
Oh, God.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, so you draw cards and just from a regular deck, and but I put in a couple prompts. I wrote it for D36 where we had like kind of limited space. It was like 1,000 words. Write 1,000-ish words based on red, whatever red prompts to you. And I was like, lipstick, communists together.
Lipstick Communist. That's the name of the movie.
There it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
That's the 60s movie.
That's the 60s
That's it. Yeah.
movie.
And but yeah, so if you draw a red card, you have like a romantic interaction, and if you draw the like ace of hearts or the queen of hearts, you confess your love. But any black card is just doing revolutionary activities. Describe what you did.
That's cool.
Did
as
you
fuck.
like deliver food? Did you do a gun run? Like, what did you do that day?
That is so cool. And like it really just came from like color red, like that's the prompt and that just came like the whole game came from that.
Yeah, I was just
That is so cool.
red.
That is so perfection. That's amazing.
That is so fucking cool.
D36 has some really cool stuff in it. Most other people dug deep into body horror and wrote a lot about like blood or there was one that's like I think it's hair specs or something. It's like reading like telling about how a person died by reading their organs, stuff like that.
Oh.
Laura Evans wrote a cool one that was closer to the way I was inspired, but they went French Revolution style. And you know that famous drawing of like the old ladies knitting in front of the guillotine?
Yes.
In Laura's game, you play as those old ladies.
That's very cool.
That's very good. That is very, very good.
Or alternately, I think you play as someone who's about to be guillotined and the old ladies are like talking shit at you.
It's worse. Did you
Like the old ladies who are just too tired to throw the vegetables. They're just gonna
Yeah.
bitch at you.
did you come up with the system as well, or is that part of?
Yeah, I really liked Starcrossed. I wasn't sure how to do this. I hadn't actually played Starcrossed, but I have seen it and read it, and I can't find anybody to play it with me.
I have,
But-
and it has almost ruined my relationship.
Oh no!
I'm a bad role player sometimes.
You're not. You're a very good role player, but you don't necessarily.
I don't flirt well.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
So word of
But-
warning.
I didn't want to like directly read it because I didn't want to like rip off Alex's game.
Yeah.
Right. And I'd made Wretched and Alone games, but I was like, I don't want this to be like an alone game. I want it to be like a 2 or more person game, because who knows, you could be an entire cadre of lesbian communists working together. And just kind of went with, you know, the tower falls and the thing happens and building that pressure. And I was thinking more of like when I've played Dread, that kind of thing. And then I ended up rehacking it for, I think it was a nunnery jam, Get Thee to a Nunnery, and it was all about like gay nuns. So that's why I have, and they were daughter mates is the other version of that. But in that one, your nuns and your convent's about to be shut down from like when either the French revolutionaries or like when Henry VIII stripped all of the monasteries or convents. So that one's a little different because the revolutionary aspect is out of your control. So you're just doing nun things or like hearing rumors about other convents getting shut down. But, you know, do you go live a life not as a nun anymore?
Yeah.
Do you survive? Do you confess your love?
Yeah.
Do you stay faithful to God?
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
To be gal pals in a village.
Right.
So
Just gals being pals in a village casually.
amazing. And yeah,
Should've
I love that game. It's very good.
And they were daughter mates. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, right. These are why. This is what I said. Like the titles, like you scroll through the itch page and you're just like, they're so good. The titles are so good.
I don't know if it's because Jess is like, one day I'll meet this bitch named Clara, and she has no self-control and has bought like 4 games now on her phone. But like all of these titles are so fucking
They're
good.
very good.
Thank you.
God.
Yeah, I fought for Just Gals Being Comrades at first because Chris was like, I'm just going to call it Comrades. I think it's catchier. And I was like, no.
That leaves out a very important aspect of
Yeah.
it. Like, yes, Just Gals Being
Yeah.
Comrades it's vital.
Yeah. And then later they got back to me and were like, I read the game. I get it now.
Okay.
I get it. It
Okay.
stays. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask about the WLW system?
Yeah, that's the system that I used. I just had other people asking if they could make Just Gals Being Comrades games. And I was like, oh, this is a game system then. And I didn't want to. I felt kind of weird because it is so similar to the Wretched and Starcrossed. And but you can't like copyright mechanics. But I was like, hey, if you want to make a game about lesbians in the face of revolution or queer people in general, because like I'm not a lesbian, I'm bi. But if you want to write about queer people and do they confess their love before a revolution or a big political event happens, here's a system for that. And I couldn't think of what to call it. I kept thinking like, do I call it like Just Gals? No, because that excludes a lot of people. Just Pals. That's kind of silly. And I already have the buddy system. And then I was like, well, screw it. I'll call it like the WLW system. And then I was like, ooh, We Love in Whispers.
I love that there's a demand for like I said, people are just coming out and telling their own stories now. I love that there's a demand for the We Love and Whisper system because people are like, you know what's really hot right now? Tearing down the systems that we all know and hate, and also kissing our friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're the voice of a generation.
Yes.
I'm not even kind of being sarcastic about this. I'm like, no, that's about right. Oh no.
That was a question on my Northwestern application when I was applying for college, was who is the voice of your generation and why?
Wow.
I wrote about Britney Spears.
Excellent. That's a good choice.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I like that. I respect that.
Mhm.
I will
Mhm.
say
This
this
the
is
early 2000s that seemed apropos.
I will say the your itch page kind of establishes like, yeah, this is about what me and my friends are about.
Yeah, pretty much.
We got there.
Yep. Amazing. All right. So we have to go on. There's emails. We have a whole podcast we still have to do after talking with Jess about all her amazing stuff. So please go to angrynerdgirl.itch.io. There's also a link there to jessicamarkramwrites.com, which is her main page where she lists all the other stuff she does too. And buy her stuff. And we'll talk about more of her games next week. It's very exciting. And now on to emails.
Ooh, can
Any
I drop
questions?
one plug real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Do the thing.
The stream that I do on Fridays during this time, Three Flings, we're doing an all month long fundraiser for Pride
Nice.
for the Montana Two Spirit Society.
Awesome.
And we're doing a raffle with a lot of giveaways. So I'll post links in the chat thing. But basically, they don't have a Tiltify because Tiltify is sometimes harsh to small orgs. So if you just donate to the Montana Two Spirit Society and then email us at threeflings@gmail.com or DM us at threeflings on Twitter, you'll be entered in a raffle to win a pride icon made by Allison Wong Brazilian, a sticker of art by Zan Larson, and Just Gals Being Comrades by me.
Yay.
That's so cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely do that. And I love, we do stuff for Rainbow Railroad usually, like once a year. We try not to pick Pride because that's like when a lot of people are raising money. So we like try and do it like in the off season because we're just like too cool to do what everyone else. I don't know. It's just, it's also like Pride's at the end of the school year for me, and I'm a fourth grade teacher, and that's just like way too much stuff for me to plan. So like at the end of summer is when I have brain space. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Mods will drop it in the chat. Yeah, donating directly to the organization is so great because they're getting all the money and minus sometimes a little bit of processing fees. But a lot of times when you go through third-party apps and stuff, they pull out chunks and it's less money for the people. So way to do it. I appreciate that. And yeah, we're thinking of maybe moving the shows to Sunday nights fairly soon. So then everyone who's used to hanging out with us on Friday nights can hang out with you on Friday nights, as long as all the people who hang out with you on Friday nights come hang out with us on Sunday nights. Because
I'll totally send them your way.
amazing. Yeah, because I've got a 3-year-old and it's just it's a hard, like, get her in bed before we start at 7:30 is like, whew, very stressful. So it's like Sunday, chill. It'll be nice. All right. Back to actually the point of our podcast, which is actually like gaming, not stories about my child. Mailbag, I mean, sort of like, I don't know, 80-20, I guess.
80-20.
Yeah. All right, mailbag number 1. Do you want to read this one, Claire?
Yeah, I can read it.
Okay.
Greetings, Jackers and Jackettes and whatever the non-binary term would be, Jackays. Anyway, originally from the Discord, but someone suggested writing it as a letter. So as I plan on going to Strategicon, I speak English well, I promise. I remember something.
You said Jack Hay, and I just went back to the 80s and got really excited and happy. So yeah, it's fine.
I remember something some of us used to do for Bay Area conventions. Basically, put together a game in a box. Basically, we put together a game in a box, a 4-hour session that you can run in open gaming or wherever. This gives you something to do during slow times, and you'll attract like-minded gamers, which increases everyone's fun and the chance to find others who are interested in maybe running something similar. Our go-to back in the day was Champions. However, not that many folks know the hero system that well, and in a 4-hour slot, I'm not sure I want to teach a complex system to people. As such, in today's gaming culture, what system would people choose to run as a pickup game? It should be something that can be run easily, either commonly known or easy to learn, and something you enjoy and wouldn't mind investing energy into. Just curious, as I was playing with these ideas, and none of the systems I usually use really fit the bill these days. And this is from Davi. Oh, I like Davi.
All right. So I love the idea of like a game in a box. Like a whether it's like not literally like a game in a box, but like something that you can just pull out right away. Like, you know, you have a story, you have like the baddies or whatever, you can kind of skin it however you want, and you can just like run it right away. Um, I don't know. I feel like torn on that. Like, what would be a good system?
I'm about to tell on myself so hard.
Do it.
Monster of the week. Full stop. Monster of the week. I can run pretty much without. I do prep, but I have several storylines and stuff, like one shots that I have kind of just logged back in my wherever I store my memories and thoughts, and partially because I love I loved Monster of the Week media, so it's just, I'll watch an episode of Buffy and be like, that would be a great Monster of the Week game, and we've done it, and like I'm done. I have no prep to do. I have nothing, and I find that PBTAs, especially because they are all so strictly linked to genre, do a really good job of taking people who are like, I don't really know what I'm here to do, and gives them a direction, a vibe, and a tool set for solving a problem that is gives you just enough rails to be like, I know how I interact with the world, and just enough freedom to let them do fuck all.
Yeah.
And also, I don't have to roll anything, which is super important to me because I roll like shit.
I think one of the other good things about PBTA games, I'm gonna pick something different, but it's kind of like a menu. It's not like you can kind of read what each thing does, and they're like, I'm gonna try this, and they just say like, it's like, I want the spaghetti and meatballs. Can I try the spaghetti and meatballs, Clara? And you're like, yes, the spaghetti and meatballs. Roll 2d20, and we'll see if you spaghetti and meatballs or whatever it is.
That's basically it, and it's because most people who go to these conventions to cons and stuff tend to be familiar with Monster of the Week style shows. I feel like every person I come across has an opinion on like Supernatural, even if it's not like a good one. You can at least get someone involved in a story pretty quickly. So I'm not so like that's always been my go-to. Just most PBTA games, again, like you said, they have a menu. You can build a Barrett yourself, like grab and it's really easy to teach with very little prep.
Yeah, and a little bit of alcohol. What do you think, Jess? What would you pull out?
So in April, we played all no prep games on Three Flings. So I have a whole lot of answers.
Tell us.
Hold on, taking notes.
And these are all free as well, actually. I'll start with the free ones, then give you two that aren't free. Skull Wizards of the Chaos Caverns is a game that uses Mad Libs to create your characters, pretty much. It's like, give me a noun and a verb, and then that becomes your stats and your class, and it's very fun and silly. Then we did You Awaken in a Strange Place, which is also similarly Mad Libby. You decide as a group what your skills are going to be and create the world together. And I loved that. And basically anything anyone says in the game is like becomes true as you're creating the world. So within like safety tool bounds, right? But you really create the world together instead of it putting the onus on one person. And another one was just Roll for Shoes, where you're all like together, and if you fail a roll or if you succeed on a roll, then you have that thing, and it's like a magical special thing. Those were all really fun. I would also say, of course, Honey Heist and its many different versions and Lasers and Feelings. I've written one. It was called Dumpster Fire. You all play as trash animals defending your dumpster from various I wrote it in 2020, so it's actually called Dumpster Fire, a game for 2020. But that's all of those pretty much have roll tables for like problems that might occur. And we just played a different D&D last week called Dads and Decks, and your two stats are dad and deck, and you have barbecue problems, and it was so fun.
That's amazing.
We played it as the Dream Daddies.
Of course you would. I love that. I always find
any of those. I think PBTA is really fun, but if you want absolutely no prep whatsoever, I totally recommend any of those.
See, I think I like no prep games, but I do like, and I like that like PBTA you can play and you can like build the characters at the table. Um, I feel like I don't know. For me, I like things sometimes that are a little more crunchy, especially if I'm going
Mhm.
to pull it out with friends. Like because most of the time, like at the end of a con, or like in between games at a con, it's not generally strangers. It's like me and my friends. Like, hey, I have this thing. Like, I want to show you the thing. And I think I would probably pull out a Wild Talents game, at least right now, because it's really easy to reskin. It's very crunchy to start, but if it's like what Davi's talking about, like a game in the box, like I've gone to cons where I have like some character sheets, like pre-done characters, and all you do is just like skin them to be what you want. Like there's a couple of like things of hit points that will eventually be some form of opponent, like maybe they're super angry robots, or maybe they are like amazing fighty like lesbian comrades. I don't know what they are, but whatever they are, like because they are just a number, they're a set of stats. There's not like in PBTA, there's not like there's nothing connected with them or making them characters. It's a really easy game that is a little bit more on the crunchy side, number side, that you can just make into whatever you want in that moment, which is something that I really love about it. And it was kind of my precursor to PBTA. I also love that the combats get really wild. So that's one of my favorite things to just randomly pull out at a con. Plus, like nobody's ever heard of it. Like, I mean, some people. There's a very small number of people who've actually heard of it or played it. So it's always fun to be like, hey, here's a crazy game that has like the most like perfect like superhero unpredictable combat ever, and it goes really fast. It's not a nightmare. So that I think that would be the thing that I would have if I had like an actual game in a box prepped, like what Davi mentioned. I think that's what I would bring.
I think, in fairness, this is why I mentioned Pretty Pretty Princesses earlier, because it's like, can I just figure out how to smash that into a box game and I just take places and make people wear crowns?
Yeah.
The my hesitation has always like a friend of mine swears by Fate as the game that he brings to cons to like I got you got 5 minutes to kill, or not 5 minutes, but you got 4 hours to kill because none of us made it to another group. I always worry when and I've only played Honey Heist. I haven't played any of the other like two Honey Heist alikes. I always worry with like strangers where I'm like, you have two stats, wolf and teen, and you can interact with anything as either a wolf or a teenager, and or more specifically like with Fate, I feel like there's almost too much freedom.
Yeah.
But
There's some
yeah.
games that I feel like you need to really trust the people you're playing with. Like, I love Monster Hearts, but I would not bring Monster Hearts to play with strangers.
I would not bring Monster Hearts to play with like friends I have now.
Although, I say that,
Thanks.
but like I run Bluebeard's Bride for strangers like every month. So I don't know.
There's like a noise. I'm sorry. Are you
Is it
hearing
my
that?
fan?
I don't hear.
I don't think it's your fan. It's in this room. It's with that. It's in our because I was hearing it when I took my headphones off. Anyway,
Huh.
I'll try and edit it later. Sorry. That's why I got up. I was like, must find the noise. We're running a podcast. Well,
It's like, but yeah, it's like, well, and that's the thing is like, I know people who run horror games at cons, and horror games at cons are are kind of my nightmare. Like, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to know what you find scary.
yeah.
So
There's a lot of like vulnerability in horror on all ends.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's why like I think having so it's why like I like a little bit of rails for people, because I just feel like sometimes I'll be like, we'll sit down with people, and even if I trust them, I'm like, how do you can interact with these two stats? Is it me? Am I squeaky? Oh, I'm squeaky, and it's apparently Kimmy hates it.
It's okay. It's fine. Now that I know what it is, like I can fix it later.
If
Okay.
it helps, I can't hear it.
Okay, perfect.
I wish we had a camera of just Kimmy stalking around the room for a moment, though. Like, fully just hunting whatever was in here. And I'm like, all right, well, this is normal and fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Totally normal and fine. It's fine. Okay. Yeah, There's a lot of vulnerability in horror, and I feel like Monster Hearts is like the ultimate amount of vulnerability because so much of it is kind of empowering yourself from a time where you felt, you know, vulnerable and like oftentimes victimized. So a lot of times people are working through a lot when they're playing Monster Hearts, which is kind of its purpose. But I would absolutely hesitate to ever try and something like that with people at a table, just partially because of my experiences at cons, which have been fabulous in the last couple of years. And back when I first started going to cons, back in old days, and you were probably, I don't want to know how old you were. It was like literally you'd walk in a room and there'd be like 3 femmy people, and you're like, cool. And everybody's like, oh, are you here with your boyfriend? Are you here with your husband? No, I'm not. My husband's up in the hotel room watching cable. He's not interested in gaming. Thanks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I'd be interested in what other people would choose, because I feel like this is a question where there's not necessarily like there's not a right answer. But like I've played with people who can make GURPS, which is a incredibly crunchy system, seamless. And it's just like your comfort level. Like you pick Monster of the Week because that's like your thing. You know it well enough to make it seamless. And ish.
Seamless enough, yeah.
Yeah. And like Wild Talents is like kind of a go-to for me, even though I haven't run it in forever. And I feel like everyone's answer is going to be what they're comfortable with. Because
honestly, at this point, I'd probably run Oops All Draculas because that's what I've been running most recently.
So much fun too, and I feel like it's very like topical also with the movie that just came out and all that
Renfield?
stuff. Yeah,
so good.
I know, so perfect. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I'd love to have people like write in and tell us what you would run and why.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to see what people's like, I can just whip this out game is. That came out weird. Only just because, like, again, listen, we can't use Hogwarts houses anymore. I gotta know what game you can just run.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between like, this is the game that I can just run like that versus like, this is the game that I think would be the smart choice for strangers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, like, that's the other thing is, like, I probably could fake my way through a game of Vampire the Masquerade. I'm not gonna.
If I had to and people were drunk enough, I could pull that off. I would get the dice mechanic great because I remember that fine.
Yeah.
It'd be all the like small little rules in between there that you're like, this seems right.
Been involved with so many session zeros for that game for campaigns that never began. So I have plenty of vampires ready to go.
The cry of every single gamer ever is like, I've been in so many session zeros that never panned out.
Yeah, just wait till you design a session zero game and you have to playtest session zeros for like 3 years straight.
Oh my god.
We coined the term, what did we call it? It wasn't
Campaign blue balls.
It was campaign blue balls. It was like campaign edging, where like you get really excited for the campaign that the session zero made, and it was like, oh, we're done now.
Yep, we're never playing that again until next time we play it with a whole new thing, and you're gonna be excited about the campaign too.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. All right, thank you, Davi. That was a very good question. Yeah, I think I will do that actually for next con. Maybe I'll try it for the One Ring. I can't imagine the One Ring being like a one shot, but I feel like I almost ran one at Strategicon. But I don't know. I feel like it just like give it a shot. Like push my Tolkien improv skills to the max and see what I can do.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Mailbag number 2. Do you have a preference on reading this one or the last? Oh, I'll read the last one. I won't condemn you to that purgatory, Jess. Why don't you read number 2?
All right. Hello again, Jackie Happers. I'm here to ask your opinion on one of the great eternal dilemmas in TTRPG design, crafting. Cue the violin stinger. I've been building a game for a while now, call me actual Ahab, and find myself up against the all too familiar wall, whether to put a crafting system in or cut it, and hope players don't try to get cute. Personally, I feel like if a game is going to have a crafting system at all, especially in a game where open world exploration and travel are baked in, it would feel a little cheap not to make it a system of the deep and rich TM variety. But how deep and rich does the system need to be to qualify as such? Is it the intricacy of the crafting or the amount of things that can be made or both? Do people even want crafting like this anymore? Do people even like crafting anymore? Am I so out of touch or is it the children who are wrong? What are your thoughts on TTRPG crafting in the year of our Lord 2022? Oh, this is an old one.
Yeah.
Yay, nay, do you prefer something deep and rich, TM, something simple, or none at all in your games? Do you think it's a good option to give players, or do you think it's not hardly better than when players go shopping in town? Thanks always for the podcast. As a very long time listener, y'all are a constant source of laughs and good advice. Until next time around, keep your stick on the ice, actual Jesse.
Woo. So I'm gonna admit that I am the MMO player. Like I've spent so much of my life playing massively multiplayer online games. And I never craft. Like I always make my crafting alts and I never play them because I hate crafting in MMOs. I hate it. Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to log into a world and do a job.
Do chores.
Yeah, it's like if I'm going to craft, I'm going to do something in real life where I'm going to like burn myself with a hot glue gun or whatever, but it's going to be real. So and my husband's the opposite. Like when we started dating, we were both obsessed with World of Warcraft, and I was playing in this massive guild and I was like raiding. I was like on a raid team, all this stuff. And he was like super blacksmith who spent a huge amount of his day flying around on his mount, like mining. It was like the weirdest thing. I was like, okay, hey, you can come raid with me. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, why isn't your build optimized? And he's like, well, I liked these. They went with my character. And I was like, okay. And then
I like him.
He's so good. He's so good.
Listen, I love that.
I know. I love that. I love that in TTRPGs. I do not necessarily love that in MMOs. Like, I want you to like have that max DPS on my if you're on my raid team. But then I would like be like, oh, let's fly around together. It'll be fun. And it was just like, we're flying around in circles. He's like, yeah, if we do it at this certain pace, it respawns before we hit it next time. And he had like all his little timers going. It was just like, oh, this is hell. Oh, this is like MMO purgatory. What have I done? Oh, he's so sexy. Damn. Okay. I'm going to smile and pretend this is great. Because we had like our little setup after we moved in together. It was like facing each other. And I was like, okay, great. So I would never, ever want this in a TTRPG. But I will talk about it. But that's my personal anecdote about crafting in gaming.
I am your husband in gaming.
Are you?
I don't like crafting. I hate it, but I also don't like equipment management. So I wear whatever glows the greenest in the thing, and then I'm like, yeah, that seems correct.
Yeah.
I'm about. This is my friend. I don't know if I've done the big rant on Happy Jack's advice show about this, but like,
Go for it.
When someone brings up like when you bring up the idea of crafting, unless it is unless like the system is about it, or like if you're playing like an artificer in a D&D sort of thing, I could see why you'd want to do crafting. It's giving me Forged in the Dark vibes, and my opinion on Forged in the Dark is someone took a perfectly good PBTA and gave it anxiety. And like all I can think about now is like I'm in a Beam Saber game and I'm sitting there trying to repair my mech and also like blow off some steam with a friend and also I guess heal my body, and I don't have enough energy to do all of it, and it like makes me frustrated because I had no desire to take care of my like haven as well, but now I have to do that. So like the idea of purposely throwing crafting into a system that is already rich and deep TM somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I have to really, really want to play, like, if we're playing old ladies who do crafts, and that's the game we're playing.
I would play that game.
I want a robust crafting system.
Yeah.
I want all of our adventures to be going to the Joanne where we go buy the things and you have X amount of coupons to spend and that's your energy, etc.
Oh my gosh.
However, if I
And you have to like spend a certain points of value to do like this really complex knitting pattern
Yeah.
versus that one. Like I would play. Okay, that I take my thing back. I would play that game all day.
but like the game has to be
I
about
have
that
a game
world.
for you.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Just
It's
like
not
I
quite-
wrote it now.
No, it's not quite that,
Okay.
because that should be a game. But I'm glad that you brought that up about the crafting being integral to the game, because a game that I love that I don't see people get like excited about, I don't know why this game goes under the radar because it's so good, is called Threadbare. And you play as toys in a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah.
The humans are dead. You are the humans now. And instead of leveling up, you upgrade your parts.
Mhm.
That's so
So-
cute.
And it is cute, but it's also like really dark.
I would cry.
Oh no,
Like,
that's
like, the
that's what I
only-
want.
Animals around are taxidermied animals, and they're like horrifying. They're like the monsters.
yeah.
But there's it's very fun. But in terms of inventory, there's only one box. You have stuff or you don't.
Mhm.
And if you have stuff, you can roll to upgrade a part. And if a part of you gets broken, you can try and upgrade it while it's broken, but if it goes wrong, you'll get a glitch, and some of the glitches are pretty funny. Like maybe it's better now and you have wheels and you're faster, but whenever you get close to another person, you shout Merry Christmas at them or something.
I love that.
But yeah, or you can repair it. And I love that because crafting like is the game. Like you're also exploring in your toys,
Mhm.
but the crafting is there.
Yeah.
There's games where I think they tried, but in a lot of adventure games, the reason that you have crafting is because you have an economy.
Yeah.
And so with a crafting system comes a robust economy. Like, are people crafting because their weapons are breaking?
Mhm.
Because then you need to have that. Or are they crafting because they want to sell things? Because that means you have to then give a robust economy with like commerce into your system. And that might be a whole can of worms you don't want to deal with. Some games do have specific classes. Like I'm thinking The Witcher has a merchant class and
It
has like a
does.
blacksmith.
Mhm.
But every time I've played or run in The Witcher, nobody likes playing those classes.
Oh no.
And honestly, the Witcher game is really difficult anyway. It's not the most seamless system ever written.
I have heard stories of it. I haven't tried myself because every time someone's like, it's rough.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Witcher has one of the greatest character creations I've ever played through. I love
Yeah.
it. And that is where it shines.
But I mean, that sorry. It's just now I'm thinking about like I have so many vampires I've never played. But yeah, it feels very much like if you're going to add a robust crafting system. I didn't even think about the fact that like why are you crafting? Is it because you have no money? Do you
Mhm.
need to do an economy thing? It like I loved. I played like an artificer in D&D where like my little goblin instincts were like, and I put this and this together, and now I made a buddy. Like I like that aspect. I know Lancer has kind of like a mech building, a droid building kind of part to it. That's how about as much as I know about Lancer. But they're always like character class specific. So I feel like throwing that in which could easily be a separate expansion thing you do later.
Mhm.
But unless like again, if you're crafting as part of the game, if the game is about repairing yourself, if the game is about sharing crafts with other people, I think there's something there to it. But otherwise, it's too many hats.
Well, and if the game involves scarcity, like I'm currently playing in a heart campaign, and in that,
Ooh.
like when you're down in the Undercity, like if you're on a delve, there's not a lot of places to like remove stress because you can't access your things. So my character class, I'm playing a witch, of course, has a thing where she can create like concoctions that can remove mind or blood stress, not fatigue, but stress. And so like a little patch up. And that's useful because like you don't have anything down there, but it's not a robust system. It's just like, you take time and make a potion, and now you have that potion. And that's useful to you. So I think there's something to be said for that. Another way to do it is to make an entire mini game. Like I've seen games, a video game example is in Fantasy Life for Nintendo DS, but which is so fun. They make baking like a whole mini game. But I've seen cooking games where it's like you have to perform little mini games to do it. That can be fun. It's just, what do you want your game to be?
Yeah.
Is crafting going to be a side thing that people do like during downtime? Or are they doing it to sell? Or are they doing it because it's part of the game?
Yeah,
I
that's
have a
often
lot
how
of crafting thoughts.
that's often how I've seen it too. Is it's done as like a downtime action or like
Yeah.
a side hustle. I am very. It's got me now thinking about the idea of like forcing each class to have a weird little side hustle thing they've got to do, and
Oh, like in Warhammer Fantasy.
apparently I haven't played it.
Work
But
on
yeah.
your job. In
Yeah, you
between
gotta go do
adventures.
job.
Go do work.
Yeah, or like having but giving every class a mini game. I just like the
Yeah.
idea of like you get your box and it has like a bunch of like crossword puzzles. It's like complete this and you will have a new spell when you're done. Just weird
love
shit
it.
like
Yeah.
that.
I know that it's funny because this is something that's been added on to a lot of systems. Like people want it, so they homebrew it a lot. I played a lot of Traveler, and while Traveler doesn't have much like crafting in there, like there are absolutely like little expansions and source books that you can get for adding crafting into Traveler. I
I'm
like
thinking
playing.
of Witch plus Craft, which was like a hugely successful Kickstarter for
Yeah,
5e.
yeah, 100%. And like I know there's I haven't played a lot of it because I don't love talent trees too much, but I did play some Fantasy Flight at Star Wars, and there are also source books you can get for that where you can create stuff from that, even though there's not a ton of it in just kind of the basic game. So there's definitely an audience for it. People want that in their RPGs. I think like repairs are more common. I know I was reading some Stars Without Number because I'm writing a sci-fi game myself right now. So of course you go around and read all the stuff. So you make something that's different from those things. And there is a crafting element in that. I don't know exactly how it works, but I do remember reading about it. And yeah, so I know it's fairly simple. It's like based on the cost, I believe, like of the item, like how much it would be worth. And then yeah, so I there's definitely a group a I may not be the audience for it unless you're making a little ladies knitting game, because then I am your target audience. That is me. But there's definitely an audience out there. So if you're still working on this, like keep working on it. Don't give it up just because I don't like it in MMOs. I think the hardest part of it is like just thinking from a dynamics in game design, like is the resources piece of it. It's like the same problem with like regents when you're casting spells. Like a lot of people hand wave that and like, do you
I wish they
have one
would.
eye and 3 gold pieces and a piece of hemlock? Like it's just such a pain to like constantly manage all that stuff.
I if you like that, then there's an audience for it. I will say I do like Lighthearted has the mechanic of like you need the light in the room, but if you play most of that game in daylight, then you don't have that doesn't come up.
Yeah.
I have now been committed to running games where that is a limited resource. I do like the scarcity of it. So I think
the
that
magic's based on the light, right?
Yeah, the
okay,
magic's
so
based on
if you don't
colored
have light in the room, you can't cast a spell.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the idea of having scarcity does appeal to me. I will say this, in my LARP, I just pay someone else in-game money to manage all of my equipment. So that's where we're at. Like my brain doesn't like tables. Unless it really likes tables. Those are the two modes.
Yeah. Only tables, no tables.
Only tables or no tables.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that would be the hardest thing to figure out. Again, I'm in like sci-fi mode, so it's like my, design, like they're on a ship. Like, if the thing you need to craft is not on the ship, good luck. Like,
You don't have a
until you
replicator?
go to wherever you're going to be, you're SOL, you can't craft anything. So I think that would be the biggest hurdle to jump over, Jesse, in your design piece of like how you're going to work that. Are these things that come from nowhere? Do they create things whole cloth from nothing? Do they have to have the things? Are they always going to have the things? Or are you just going to hand wave like you have a magic bag or a fairy who goes around with you and gives you yarn, like a yarn fairy.
Yeah, do you want to get into like inventory and carry weight, or do you want to do like the threadbare? You have stuff or you don't have stuff?
Yeah. So like asking yourself all those questions, and like you were saying, just like, then how does that weave into an economy? Are these going to be things that they use right then, so you don't have to worry about like selling them, or is it like think about what the point of the crafting will be? What is the end goal of it?
And also, even if you don't have it, players are going to try and make stuff. Like, how many times have you played a game where somebody killed a skeleton and then was like, this arm is my new weapon?
Yes.
Almost exclusively. I love
Like, I put a
improvised
rat
weapons.
on the arm of this skeleton and now it's a poisoned club. And the GM's just like, all right, your character thinks they have a poisoned club.
Yeah, you got 2 uses of that, and that's mostly bubonic plague. I listen almost exclusively. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why so many games have like use I don't know, I can't think of the word, like a
improvised weapon.
improvised
stuff.
weapon. There
I
you go.
love improvised
I'm like, what
weaponry.
is it?
It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's like there's so many mechanics for that, because it is in the player's nature to be like, I'm gonna use this stair to cut this thing, and you're like no, like there's a reason I don't let people cut paper with my sewing scissors, because you need sharp things to cut through rope. Like, let me tell you. But right?
I'm just thinking about like if you can loot bodies, you can craft, which is a whole new game I've just thought of.
We've written so many games already.
We threatened.
Old ladies knitting, loot bodies make stuff.
Just saying, post-apocalyptic loot bodies make things.
Yeah, I mean, like upcycling.
Yeah.
All right.
So bad.
It's so bad. All right. Mailbag number 3. Greetings, Queen Kimmy and the Dark Legion. It is I. Totally. Yeah, you're the Dark Legion. Both of you.
That's us.
It is I, a totally new person writing in, and not Steffi from Scotland wearing a trench coat and a fedora. In season 31, episode 22, there was an email about reclassifying railroad and sandbox games. I find these classifications flawed, as they are trying to describe 2 different things as if it is one. Leaning into video games as my example, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is both a railroad and a sandbox. It has a main quest that is very A to B. Not only do you have to collect all the things, but you have to do it in the right order. Railroad. But it has a world that you can wander around in, side quests and hidden lore within that exploration. Sandbox. While I have not played Breath of the Wild, I am under the understanding that you can do the quest in any order you want, and then the BBEG, making it more of a sandbox than Ocarina of Time. But you are still scripted to the BBEG battle at the end. Yeah, that's accurate. For story progression, I suggest 4 different classifications. Scripted. It's A to B. You have to do X before Y happens. You're going to hit a certain story beat or plot points. Players have no say in how the story goes. This may appeal to the players who want to kick in the door, kill the monsters, and take their stuff. They show off how good their min-max build is. It could be all they want in a game. That is me on a rating team in an MMO. Classification 2, linear. This is a scripted, but it has more wiggle room. Yes, it is A to B, but you get choices in how to go from A to B. You do have to do X before Y happens, but you decide how to do X, which may affect Y in some way. You hit certain story beats, but how you act on them affects things later down the line.
Sounds like Witcher 3.
Yes. 3, fated. All paths lead to Rome, or your BBEG. Maybe you have to go down a few paths in order in order to get to all the things, or you pick one path and you gets you to where you need to be from the for how the story ends. 4. Branching. Imagine a bare tree. Many paths spray out and don't line back up again. Going down one closes off all other paths to you. But this is just story progression. Railroad and Sandbox also imply how much exploring you can do within your world. I suggest 4 classifications here. 1. Bottle. For the youths, a bottle episode is an episode of TV where, to save on budget, the main cast would for some reason be trapped on the main set and everything happens in that small area. Here is the exploration is limited to story areas. You want to stretch your legs and walk through the village? The story will follow you there. If the door is jammed, trapping you into the story. 2. Dungeon. This is the dungeon crawl with more rooms than you are expected to explore, with many hidden secrets. Again, you can only stay where the story is, but there is more to explore and to find that will enhance the story. This could be a whole world. Critical Role has many major cities that the players can choose to go around in the world. This is, if it's still connected to the story, which seems to be the case in Critical Role, then it would still be a dungeon. 3. Leash. Think of a dog in one of those extended leashes. They can go beyond the bounds, sniff things the GM didn't expect them to sniff, but it is limited, and they have that cord back to the main plot around their necks so that they can't really waste time. That's what I love. 4. Glitter. The PCs get everywhere, and they're there forever. You have vacuumed 5 times, but you still keep finding them in your carpet. So I guess like just everywhere, anywhere.
Yeah, you can just go wherever. I mean, and it just doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the story, I think is the last one, where it's like they just go places and you make up ideas about it.
Yeah.
I was listening as we were going through this. I'm like, I described my GM style as like, I throw the PCs in a dark room and I tell a room with no lights on. I tell them to get out, and I know they're gonna exit the other door on the other side. How they get there, no one knows. What's in the room? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out together, I guess.
Yeah.
So like, I guess I want to say it's like Faded and Leash for my like game like running style, where it's like, I promise you will do the plot I want you to do at some point.
Mm-hmm.
How we all get there, we'll find out together.
Here, I'll finish with the email and then I'll talk about like what I think I
yeah.
might be. Here, Orkana of Time can be labeled as scripted leash, whereas Breath of the Wild would be faded glitter. This is a much clearer classification. I mean, Steffi, I don't know about clearer, but entertaining. Then they are both railroady and sandboxy, but one is more sandboxy than the other. I don't actually use these classifications myself. I tell the players where the sand pit walls are, often asking them to build something in the sand. Then I make a railroad to take my villains to victory with the intention the players will knock them off. I have been using this explanation for my gaming style for years, and people seem to understand what I mean. So it's not the terms itself, but how we use them. Kimmy talked about roller coaster as a possible term for the railroads, where your friends should just write a book. I can see the GM telling potential players that their railroad is a roller coaster, so strap in and enjoy the ride. It will get rid of all those dramatic thespians and lure in those min-maxers who just want to kick indoors. Kill the monsters and take their stuff. And isn't that the point of labeling things? To find the people that will like them? For that, we need to use terms that people are familiar with, but add context and clarity. These min-maxers won't understand or care to learn what the scripted bottle is, but will quickly pick up on roller coaster. Same as the dramatic thespians. Ending, not Steffi from Scotland, or Steffi on the Discord who emails in far too frequently. I'm sure it's not you, Steffi.
Definitely not Steffi.
Definitely not Steffi.
But I mean, like, we do like Steffi.
Yeah, we do like Steffi.
Yes.
And they're from Scotland, so that's cool. Yeah, I don't know. I have like post-crafting disorder with glitter. Like, I stress out about it. Like, I've told this story before. I think I've told you. I don't know if I've told it on the podcast, but one summer, a couple summers ago, I was moonlighting with the Imagineers over in Burbank, working on some stuff for the Frozen ride that's in Florida now. My job was Elsa Glitter. So for 40 hours a week, for a really long period of time, I sat all day, full work day, listening to podcasts and like putting a time, because they like it had to be actual glitter. So putting a dot of glitter on a specific spot on the outfit and glittering it, and spot of glitter, dot of glue, glitter, dot of glue, glitter. Wait till it dries, gently brush it off, and then when it was all done, I had to like spray it with like the setting spray. Like people knew which stall I used in the bathroom because there was literally a trail of glitter from the frozen area to the restroom to the stall that I used and like back. It was like there's a lot of glitter there, and I still find it in my car. Like still to this day, years later, it's been vacuumed a whole lot and it's still there. So like when I think like glitter story, I think of I don't think
Trauma.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't want a glitter story. Oh God, so I understand your intent, Steffi, but stress. I don't know. I feel like these are pretty good.
I love glitter.
I know it's so pretty, but I'm
Listen.
very careful with it now. It's very controlled.
People don't like glitter because they can't control glitter, and that's on them.
Ah,
I love glitter.
Chaos
I
energy
nearly
is getting
lost
on me. Keep your chaos energy over there.
I nearly lost a friend once because I glittered his door as a prank because he bailed for like Easter egg decorating in college, and we had glitter eggs and we had the leftover stack of glitter. So we're like, let's just rub it on his dorm room door handle. And then he didn't talk to me for like a year.
You have to wonder, like in that situation, like he didn't notice the glitter on his doorknob. So what did he do after that made him so angry with the glitter? Where did the glitter get?
It
Why did
got
it
on
get
his audition suits.
Oh, okay, that's legit. Like,
I mean, they're
Yeah.
for auditions. You're fine. Also, lint rollers
Our
will
yeah.
solve your glitter problems.
Yeah, if you have if you have audition suits, you should have lint rollers. Like that's the thing.
I was like, maybe you should have shown up.
Yeah, maybe you should have just decorated goddamn eggs, friend. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Mine changes. I'm very branching. I am very branching in my stories. I almost never actually have like a big bag planned at the end. I make it up as I go, and like as we get there, I'm like, oh, this seems like this is the direction my players are going in. This is what we'll do. I don't know with the last one. I'm not glitter.
I
probably am glitter, but will not be glitter. I'll be leash.
I feel like I go in like I feel like I have to go in with a plan. Like again,
Mhm.
I like the idea of everything's faded because like y'all don't know what's behind my GM screen. You don't know what's on my Google Drive. Like you don't know what I've planned.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's definitely a million different options that you could do.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the bad guy is behind every door though, just because why make me do extra work?
That makes sense.
But I like to pretend that I like plan a lot more than that. And most of the time, like when players introduce things into the world, it's inspiring enough to branch off from that. So like I like seeing what players like players on Unleash will sniff at.
Mm-hmm.
Like I also because like your players will not have fun if you're like unless you all really agreed on it. I feel like players won't have as much fun if like you've built a world for them and they go, oh my god, I really want to know more about the religion, and you go, can't talk about the religion, gotta go this way, and they're like, but I want to talk about the world religion here, and you're like, can't talk about it, go this way, because like they've expressed what they're interested in, and you're not like, I guess they're gonna enjoy fighting the orcs, but like they've clearly told you what they want. You should probably listen and work with them.
Yeah. I think.
Oh,
go ahead. No, you go.
I was going to say, I think it brings up different things for like when you're running a game for a table too, as opposed to when you're designing an adventure, because when you're designing an adventure, you only have so much space.
Yeah.
So it kind of has to be linear or faded depending on your word space. Or if you're doing a video game, just how much space they have in the game. And I usually want to put in caveats like if X then Y, and here's a bunch of different endings that could have happened. Here's places that things can go wrong, but the ending is almost always going to be the ending or one of two things in most adventures that you buy. just because they're there to give the person running it a guide.
Yeah. And they want that if they're buying the adventure. Something I've really fallen in love with free league games, at least their One Ring stuff, is they have a system they call the landmark system. So they have some source books that they have, like, literally you open up the map and there's like numbers on it, and then you look in the book and it tells you what's in that place. So I think I feel like I'm a landmark GM. I think I've always done that, and finding a source book that was written and formatted that way was just like, oh, this is how my brain works. This is great. So then, like, literally wherever the players go, you can pick and choose what things like they'll run into or that you want to throw into the story. Some of them are like small things, like, oh, there's a little, like, a bunch of orcs living in a cave right here, so it's like a one thing encounter. Some of them are like big things that you could tie into each other and the lore of the world and stuff like that. So I really like that approach, where it's not quite glitter. Like, people can wander around and do whatever they want, but there's also things that are already planned there, and then you've got that source material there, so you're not having to create everything whole cloth. But as a GM, I can really customize it really easily. I love that layout, and I think I'm actually going to adopt that for future stuff that I write for my games too. And yeah,
I'm like, I do like the being able to, like, they did this with MMOs. Are you an explorer? Fuck, what do they call? I can't remember the categories now, but they did this where they did come up with like a taxonomy of gamers.
mm-hmm.
And I really liked that, just in a, or, ooh, haha. So I really loved in 4E, in D&D 4E, the classification for combat of leader,
found it.
controller.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Ooh.
Oh, the Bartle taxonomy of player types:
Yeah.
killers, achievers, socializers, and explorers.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think I love that for MMOs. And I will say, and in like 4E, I really loved that they had leader, controller, fuck, I can't remember the other two right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I love being able to sit. It would be kind of cool to be able to sit down at a game and be like, hey, I'm this kind of game runner. Or like, if you're looking for a game, it's like, this is a highly railroady kind of style,
Mm-hmm.
game. The same way we have genres and content warnings to help us pick things. It would be nice to be able to be like, oh, I love playing with Kimmy. Kimmy is very like linearly oriented, but still allows, but linear, but works with landmarks. And I can go, okay, cool. That's the kind of person I want to play with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really cool to have a like a taxonomy, just to be like, oh, cool. Clara is like, because you can say like Clara's a goblin, and everyone's like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
And then you know what to expect at a table.
Yeah.
But like, you don't always know what to expect, what that means for a GM, or like when you're coming in to play a game.
Yeah. Yeah. I forget what it was called, and I've said it on the thing, and people in the chat before have said it, but like, long time ago, there was a very short-lived sci-fi series where it was like post-apocalyptic, and like people had invented like youth serum, but it turned part of the population into like these animals, like it devolved them, and then the rest became these amazing, like really smart beings, but they had to reproduce in a certain way, so you could only pair with people who had the same, like a certain genetic thing, so everybody had a color like embedded right here. It was very weird. It's just, and this is like a thing I saw as a kid, so I have like half memories of it. So like, if you had blue and I had blue, we could be in a relationship together because we possibly would procreate.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like color coded. Everyone was like color coded for their romantic relationships. So like, super weird and creepy. But it would be interesting if like there was some sort of like badge you could wear at a con that was like, this is my play style. I'm trying to stay away from like J.K. Rowling bullshit. Like, I don't want to.
So
I don't.
freaking hard.
So I'm going to like even worse examples, but I can't actually cite them, and it's like an old, out of date sci-fi like thing. So I feel like I'm not promoting someone who could actively profit right now. So I don't know if it's like less worse, but okay.
But yeah, it's like, it would be nice to be able to walk into a con, or like if you're talking about your friend and you're trying to like bring them into a game. Be like, yeah, he's just a very event-true player, which means he's not going to bend to anything, and he's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how, like, it kind of works, it kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do miss having a universal language that not universal, but like I do miss having a widely accepted pop culture touchstone for the kind of person that you are that isn't astrology.
Yeah.
Just if anyone figures out a new one, let me know because
We'll work on it. We'll get there eventually.
I need
Divergent tried.
Divergent
Yeah.
tried, and it's like as much as we don't much as I want everyone to play games that aren't D&D, it'd be kind of nice to be like, oh, you're a bard, excellent.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's sort of like the closest thing we have to like universal stuff.
That is closer now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like adding classifications to what Steffi said, I feel like I'm a landmark menu GM. Like it's like my players sit down, I have like a menu of things, and it's like, oh, there's this happening and there's this happening in the world, and these are the rumors you've heard and blah blah blah. So they're like, I'll have the spaghetti and meatballs because I said that before. And I must really want spaghetti and meatballs. I haven't eaten dinner
I
yet.
am gonna DoorDash spaghetti and meatballs.
Yeah.
At home.
And then like, okay, so then like the spaghetti and meatballs then puts them on the map, and then they start down, and then it's like then the landmark kicks in, and then when they get to this landmark, they can like choose from the menu of options. I don't know. I feel like that's a good description.
Yeah.
It's not glitter, which is my most important criteria right now because I'm traumatized.
Trauma. I like
I love
my
you, Steffi,
darkened
but no.
room analogy.
Yeah, I know.
It's just a dark room. Get out of it. We'll figure it out together. I threw some other things in there. I know I did.
Yeah,
So if you find them,
100%.
let me know.
Yes.
Cool.
All right. I think.
I was gonna say, what about
anything
you?
else? Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. What kind of GM are you, Jess?
Oh God. It depends because a lot of times, like professionally, I do one shots.
Yeah.
And the two that I run all the time are Pillion, which is really open, but at the same time, there's a clear ending point.
Mhm.
Or Bluebeard's Bride, which is like the most linear PBTA game there is. You're exploring rooms and then you go to the final room and then it's done.
Mhm.
In my campaigns that I almost never run anymore, I would say probably linear or faded. There's stuff going on that they don't know about. Yeah, I'd say probably faded with glitter. A leash, maybe. I don't know. I always check in and see like where do you want to be doing with stars and wishes after each session, right? Like where do you want to go?
Yeah.
And if where they want to go takes them from somewhere different than what I had planned, sometimes I reassess the plan.
Mhm.
And we come to that together. So maybe glitter, maybe leash, but also
A glittery leash.
a
Glittery
glittery
leash.
leash.
Yeah, like one of the leashes that like has like been made like fairly cheaply, so the glitter's constantly falling off of it. So you have both. So you've got like the glitter on everything and the leash. It's like, yeah.
I mean, it's rare that I've had a player throw something at me that I couldn't roll with,
Yeah.
even if I just had to say, like, give me a few minutes.
Yeah. Oh, I need a bathroom break. 1 moment. Hold
Oh.
on.
Yeah.
Everybody go get a drink real quick.
Yeah.
So many
So whatever they want to do, as long as it makes sense and everybody else is game for it, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's like the big thing that you need when you're running games is just the ability to go, yeah, I gotta take a 15-minute bathroom break. Let's do it.
All right. I think that's the end.
Yeah.
This is a very long episode, but thank you so much for being here, Jess. It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
All right. Thank you for joining us for season 32, episode 5 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. Please support our amazing indie designer of the month, Jessica Markram, who's here with us tonight. You can find her games at angrynerdgirl.itch.io. And thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent. You can join their ranks at happyjacks.org/Patreon. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Clara.
Oh gosh, and I'm Jess.
Sorry, I didn't warn you about that before the thing. Yeah, and if you are one of our Patreons, you will be getting a game paid for by us from Jess this month, and also a cool interview with her with some written questions and answers that will be shared on the Patreon. And tonight, we're going to leave you with a song This is Side Quest by our friends, the Dread Crew of Oddwood, who play heavy metal pirate rock on acoustic instruments. And they are awesome. And you can find them at thedreadcrewofoddwood.com because they thought that was a good idea for a URL. So thank you all so much, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.